All right, let's get back to it. DJ, I really hope you like that Niv Mizzet. It's an impressive piece, and thank you again for. Excuse me. Thank you again for supporting the channel by picking it up. Yeah, I'll throw out another cat butt here to celebrate. All right, so we made one monstrous quote-unquote character, and so now it is time to make our second character of the evening, and we'll do just that. Now remember, all the races are coming out of Volo's Guide to Monsters, so no humans. There are orcs, as in like true orcs, not half orcs. Hey, oh, the towel fell. If any of you notice, that's why I've had a blue, kind of a blue background on my chair. It's because this little fiend loves using her claws on my leather chair, and so if I put a towel on the back of it, she's less likely to do so. However, when I sat down, I took the towel with me, and so now she's just going to take advantage of my kindness. So let's get rolling. Do we have a female character, a male character, or a multi-class character? 1. We have a female character. What are the odds of that? Of 1 in 100. The race, there are 13 monstrous races in Volo's Guide, so we're going to generate a 13-sided die. And let's expand our VGM selection here and see what we get. An 8. An 8 is a kobold. The first kobold made by the dragon-blooded goblin? We'll find out. This is what I love about this creative process. So we're making a kobold character. We have a female kobold who is of the alignment 44, lawful neutral, and we're going to be generating this character at, I rolled an 18, at 6th level. 6th level, lawful neutral. Kobolds are small creatures, SMOL. At level 4, we would get a stat bump, but I'm going to roll to see if we take a feat instead. The percentile dice say, nope, we're taking the stat bump. Our background. There are 66 backgrounds, if we include the 4 from Ghosts of Saltmarsh, which is not yet included in here. So we're going to open this up, manufacture a 66-sided die, and find out what we get. Nope, that's my mouse cord, ma'am. Are you done? We rolled a 63. We are actually going to get into Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Because there are 62 from all the other sources. 3, 4, 5, and 6 are Ghosts of Saltmarsh. And the first one out of Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Dun, dun, dun. Table of contents. We have backgrounds. The first one is a fisher. That was like an exclusive Saltmarsh, a new one. So we're going to keep this. We're going to keep this open to reference. In fact, we're going to move Ghosts of Saltmarsh over here. And so our background is a fisher. Very good. Now for our class and our subclass. Let's expand this and get ready to hit this golden D12, which might increase as soon as they publish Artificer in further Eberron content. I mean, there's two Artificer versions in Unearthed Arcana. It's just that none of them are legal beagle just yet. I somehow think that you're only here for the cheese. Hmm? Okay. Our D12 says 11. A Warlock. We have an Archface, Celestial Fiend, Great Old One, Hexblade, and an Undying. I'm going to roll a D6, and we're going to determine which kind of a Warlock we're getting. 4. A Great Old One. Since when have simple fisher folk ever come into contact with a Great Old One? Come on. All right, now that we have that, our class features, as a Warlock, we're going to roll a D3 to determine which pact we're going to be taking. So, 3-sided die, and 3. We have a goo tome. A tome goo. And we have our goblin pull down menu, but now we have to go to the noble Kobold. All right, kobolds. Let's move this off to the side. I'm going to roll a percentile. We're going to find out where in her life she is. 92. So we have another venerable character. We have 2 oldsters here. Is this a coincidence? I think not. And so a venerable kobold is 97 plus 1d 22 years. 4. So she's 101 years old. Kobolds have a starting height of 2 feet 1 inches tall, with a height modifier of 2d4 inches. So she's 2'3", okay. And she weighs 27 pounds. She is extra small. I mean, she's a smaller cat. She's the size of a human child, of a human baby, pretty much. All right, so she's 2'3" and 27 pounds. Yeah, Tesla, thank you. I mean, these are simple, God-fearing folk who probably live in some quaint, upper seaboard town. They go out, earn an honest living on the sea. They go to church in their Sunday best. They just want, they want a mortgage, a car, and a pile of kids at home. And who would ever suspect that some lurking ancient evil would just go and say no? Okay, well, we have the outline of our character. And now that we have this, we can start conceptualizing who she is, how she acts and thinks and operates. And so we are going to go to the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Ooh, it actually kind of sounds like a Lovecraftian story right there, the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. I want to discover who she is as a fisher first, right? This was her background, her hobby, her lifestyle, her first job, maybe her only job. Maybe she still fishes. Let's find out. Hey, Pneumonica, welcome. Pneumonica, we're just saying how ridiculous it is to have a member of a simple fishing village come into contact with some great old alien intelligence living in the sea. Clearly, that's a big city problem. It could be, DJ. I'm open-minded to this. We're not only just building characters, right? Remember, these characters are a product of the societies in the world in which they live. All right, as a fisher, we are going to get history and survival as our skill proficiencies. We'll get a language of our choice. So we'll know Common, Draconic, and one other. Equipment. Nice and easy. Fishing tackle. A net. A favorite fishing lure. Or oiled leather wading boots. The favored fishing lure could be... In fact, we could probably even make that a trinket of some kind. Fishing lure. Trinket. Trinket number something. A set of traveler's clothes. And a belt pouch containing 10 gapuz. Oh, you know what? Well, we're talking kobolds and dragons. Let's go to something more reflecting fishing or the depths and what could lurk beneath. I'm still waiting for the person who openly wants you to play a Cthulhian cultist. Why would there be an instrument god for a fishing village? Ancient aquatic extraterrestrial abomination needs to breed. Totally first world problem. Oh, I get it. The instrument off of a bass instead of a bass. Our feature is Harvest the Water. You gain advantage on ability checks made using fishing tackle. If you have access to a body of water that sustains marine life, you can maintain a moderate lifestyle while working as a fisher, and you can catch enough food to feed yourself and up to 10 other people each day. You don't have to like eating it, but it'll keep you living. Or close enough. All right. What is our fishing tale? So we're not just a fisher. We have a claim to fame in some way. Let's roll a D8 and find out what's our big fish story. We rolled a 1. And the 1 tells us lobster wrestling. You fought in hand-to-hand combat with an immense lobster. Now, do you want that to be a lobster? Do you want that to be something else, an octopus or a dire barracuda or something? She has this lobster wrestling story, as opposed to it dragged the boat, fins of pure gold, a ghost fish, a nemesis clam. It swallowed the sun, dive into the abyss, or a love story. So here we have, I'll lay it out down here. This is really a part of her character. Lobster wrestling. You fought in hand-to-hand combat with an immense lobster. Now that I think about it, I find it odd for as many people I've run into who love the mythos, I do not run into the Kuo-Toa. The locals, pretty much is what you could call them. Yeah, I just came back from this other seaside fishing village, and man, you should have seen the locals there. Okay, now. She's gonna get 2 personality traits, an ideal, a bond, and a flaw. We're gonna roll 2d8 and then 3d6. So we have 3, 3, 5, 1, 6. 3. Well, we can't have 2 3s, but we can have a 5, a 1, and a 6. So we need to re-roll one of our d8s. 3, 3, 2. I was getting spooky. The dice were saying, no, you don't understand. Not only 3, but 3. What even is trait number 3? I need long stretches of quiet to clear my head. She must have really needed super long stretches in that case if we were just going with the double 3s. Okay. Her personality traits are, well, I need long stretches of quiet to clear my head. And 2, my friends are my crew. We sink or float together. Her ideal is number 5, balance. Do not fish the same spot twice in a row. Suppress your greed, and nature will reward you. Her bond is number 1. I lost something important in the deep sea, and I intend to find it. What did she lose? Right? This is a bond. It's supposed to link her into the world. Is it a something? Is it small? Is it large? Is it a someone? Is it something not concrete? Did she lose her sanity in the depths? Come back a changed person? It's a rumor, but I hear what's drowned can never die. I don't know if there's any truth to that. I guess, or what's dead cannot die, or something like that. And 6, her flaw. I am obsessed with catching an elusive aquatic beast, often to the detriment of other pursuits. Hey, English Mudkip, welcome. I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. That's very polite of you. I'm sorry. It looks like I missed out on some chat here. Man, this one dude in this coastal village in New Hampshire was really acting suspiciously. There's just something fishy about him. Silver Pirate says, sounds like my computer password. Alright, so these are our prompts. We have a kobold, a venerably aged kobold at that. Almost beyond her years. Maybe suspiciously so? At least in her youth, though, she could very well still be a fisherwoman, a fisher person, a fisher. Something happened. You know, how would she come into this pact with a great old one? Would she even know? Could she have fished up some old book, you know, that was at the bottom of the bay? You know, she never fishes in the same spot twice. That could even mean that she traveled outside of her comfort, her home stretch of water, into foreign waters, maybe even into forbidden waters. She trusts nature. What will happen to her, and she's absolutely fine with it. Oh, what's this message in a bottle? What's this old book kind of floating on the waves? Let me just crack it open and see. Somewhere in there's lobster wrestling. And maybe that's what the elusive aquatic beast is. You know, the lobster wrestling just says we fought the lobster. Doesn't mean that we won. We just did it. We owe that lobster, Aldani, whatever, crab people, a good whooping back. Or, if it's not a whooping we're after, what if we're obsessed with finding the creatures that manufactured this book of shadows that we would receive as a Tome Pact gulag. I think there's a lot of creative things that we can do here. You know, she wants balance, and especially being a true neutral character. You know, not that we ever have to stretch our imaginations in unreasonable fashions if we get an evil ideal with a good character, because it's still a natural extension of oneself. But this really does add a lot of flavor, and I think all of this is working to make an interestingly compelling character. Maybe not your average, if such a thing exists, an average Great Old One Warlock, but her circumstances could be different from others. We shall see. Let's continue fleshing out the character. Or someone she liked and the being will give them only they do their doing? I'm not sure I follow you, Silver. Can you restate that or re-clarify what you're saying? But now that we have our background, here we can close this out. We can close out Guildmasters. We're not going to need that, and I don't want to keep too many tabs open here. Volo's Guide. Well, we need to go to Monstrous Adventures and the mechanics. Now, we'll go back to the culture section. I just want the mechanics for a kobold right now. Dexterity increases by 2, and strength is reduced by 2. So we're actually going to have a -2 and a +2. Kobolds reach adulthood at age 6 and can live up to 120 years, but rarely do so. So ours is still within her natural time frame, but that could be extended. What if she doesn't look as she would because of this pact that she's made? And similar to the dragon blood flowing through our venerable goblin madam as well. Speed, we are also quick. We can move 30 feet. 15, 15, 0 there. We have dark vision out to 60 feet. Grovel, cower, and beg. As an action on your turn, you can cower pathetically to distract nearby foes. Until the end of your next turn, your allies gain advantage on attack rolls against enemies within 10 feet of you that can see you. Once you use this trait, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. Grovel, cower, and beg. Pack tactics. You have advantage on an attack roll against a creature if at least one of your allies is within 5 feet of the creature and the ally isn't incapacitated. I guess we'll just be throwing some spells into melee combat. It's not as dangerous as it was in prior editions. We do have sunlight sensitivity. So we do have disadvantage on attack rolls and perception checks if we or our Target is in bright light or direct sunlight specifically. And languages, common and draconic. So this doesn't tell us a lot about the character besides some mechanical benefits. But what we can do now is within Volo's Guide, we go to Monster Lore and kobolds, little dragons. Oh, little durgans. Hey, Rycon, welcome. What are we working on? We're making our second monstrous player character. Oh, so you're saying if she fulfills her pact, that her patron will restore someone important to her? Hey, GM Vault, welcome. This Halloween, I have this impulse to find a group and run a one-shot based on the Dunwich horror. Do it. Run it. That'd be fun. Like, would you run it in Call of Cthulhu or in D&D, or would you run kind of a World of Darkness? Maybe not vampire per se, but you'd run a WOD, or would this be, would this be something else, Derek? All right, so what do we know as Volo's guide states? Because remember, these are our characters. We can work with our dungeon masters to modify things, to take cultural prompts, and to modify them to make a compelling character and a race that has its own motivations, its own culture, socioeconomic strata, etc., and so forth. From what this is telling us in a kind of a generic, as the D&D creators are putting it out there, kobolds are often dismissed as cowardly, foolish, and weak. But these little reptilian creatures actually have a strong social structure that stresses devotion to the tribe, are clever with their hands, and viciously work together in order to overcome their physical limitations. In the kobolds' version of a perfect world, the creatures would be left alone to dig their tunnels and raise the next generation of kobolds, all while seeking the magic that will free their imprisoned god. See Kurtelmach, the god of kobolds, in the sidebar. In the world they occupy, kobolds are often bullied and enslaved by larger creatures, or when they live on their own, they are constantly fearful of invasion and oppression. Although individually they are timid and shy away from conflict, kobolds are dangerous if cornered, vicious when defending their eggs, and notorious for the dangerous improvised traps they use to protect their wardens. Well, I imagine if we have a fisher, we have someone, as old as she is, she's probably a great-grandma by now. I mean, she's probably laid, a lot of eggs. She's been through, she is trying to provide for her family, fishing to feed these next generations. She is a matron among kobolds, and she's very loyal, and perhaps that loyalty is manifesting in this pact that she ended up entering into with whatever we're conceiving for this great old one entity. It could be a kraken. It could be, we could make it a, we could make a great old one. Oftentimes we think of tentacles and whatnot, so a kraken could fit. Could fit. It could be, what about a dragon turtle? A dragon turtle could very much be an elder entity of the sea. Do we want to make the great old one a blue dragon? Or the metallic equivalent is a bronze. Dragons are certainly great. Dragons are certainly old. Dragons can certainly be ones. An aboleth can work as well. Yep. Well, it might be... It could straddle either an archfey or a great old one, but what if it's a sea hag? Not a Sahagin. Although, I mean, like an elder Sahagin could work, but a sea hag would be interesting. So they're very family-oriented, like goblins. Expert tunnelers, able scavengers. I love this picture, by the way. Yes, a Warlock Kobold Rycon. I've always been worried about patrons who don't have the CR to compare to its level 20 Warlock. Well, I mean, there's always the bigger fish in the sea. So, I mean, you find stats for an aboleth or a kraken, and sure, there's hit points and everything. But this is, this is the kraken, not a kraken. know, you get this ancient sea beast kraken. You know, with you got to have like a dash, or you got to have like a semicolon or an ellipses or something in the name. You know, the name like my dude. My dude. And so, of course, the servitor comes up, bows. What is the Kraken lacking, my dude? Great Old One should be a descendant of Bilb Duploop. Hey, well, we were talking about Kuo-toa earlier, Raikon. So they see, they see themselves as dragon servitors, are often used as such. And you know what? We have another connection. We have a dragon-blooded goblin. The dragon could be the Great Old One if we wish. And so this could be a bond between these two characters, almost as sisters. And in fact, you know, we're talking about, well, what if it's a natural sibling, or what if the sibling is a twin? What if in this case a sibling, you know, but it's a broad family definition? What if the sibling that our goblin has is, you know, a sister in this kobold, because they share the parentage or the patronage of this dragon? Could work. Volo says kobolds are a lot less cute when they learn how to cast fireballs. I imagine so. Kobolds have a tribal society in which they all take on specialized roles that protect and sustain the tribe. So hunters, strategists, beast wranglers, and such. So she took on her role. Grow fast, die early. We talked about how quickly they mature. So again, I mean, we have a very matronly kobold. She's been reproducing. She has several generations of eggs that I'm sure she's laid, and and she's probably lost a lot of kids in that amount of time too. But such is the biology and the familial structure. Because of the gnome god Garl Glittergold, trap the kobold Kurtlemuck in an inescapable maze. Kobolds are bitterly hateful towards gnomes. Although they usually don't seek out gnomes, they do them violence. If hostile kobolds encounter a mixed group of gnomes and other humanoids, the kobolds instinctively attack the gnomes. So, kind of not a mechanical favored enemy, but we can translate that here. Do we want it to be gnomes? It could be something else. It could even be goblins. What if the kobolds and goblins don't get along? Kind of like in that scenario we're creating with Technotron before I went on vacation. That could very well be. And so these two, as a party, have learned to overcome that. Role-playing a kobold. A kobold acknowledges its weaknesses in the face of a hostile world. It knows it's puny, bigger creatures will exploit it, it will probably die at a young age, and its life will be full of toil. Although this outlook seems bleak, a kobold finds satisfaction in its work, the survival of its tribe, and the knowledge it shares a heritage with the mightiest of dragons. Very good tips here. Again, if you have Volo's Guide, please read this stuff. It's excellent for world building. It's excellent for character building. Let's find out. Oh, physical variations. Let's determine her scale color and her scale pattern. We're gonna roll a percentile and then a d20. So 54, 19. 54, 19. We'll put that under skin here. Orange brown, striped. Tactics, treasure, using them as allies, minions, and pets. Kobold lairs. In fact, this book is excellent because look, I mean, it takes the information they've presented, and is this not a society of tunnelers? This is an excellent example map to use in your own worlds and your own scenarios. You know, you can make a dungeon out of that even. Examples of kobold traps. Sorry, I have one more mozzarella stick here. By that, apparently I have one more cat snack because she's looking at me off screen. You want to talk about being in service to a great old one? What about a mind flayer? You know, again, we're talking krakens and aboleth. But mind flayers sometimes devote themselves to deeper study sonic power. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's the next section. But still, kobolds can encounter mind flayers in the Underdark because of the whole tunneling aspect. And so, what if this kobold? Actually, this is kind of a good jumping point between the two. We're already thinking of tentacled great old ones. A great old one could be a mind flayer. That could be very interesting. English Mudkip says, well, here's an idea for the great old one, a celestial dragon. An astral dragon, you mean? I'm not too familiar with those, English Mudkip, so you'd have to give me a reminder. Because I know there's a celestial pact, and I don't know if that would be more appropriate, or, I mean, anything could be anything. Let's be real, it's D&D, it's storytelling. Anything is anything if we want it to be. All right. Oh, we didn't need that anymore. We need our character sheet, and if we scroll back to character races, there is a monstrous origin that we can roll. You know, why did she leave? Why did she depart? What is her origin from being not just a kobold to this kobold? And our monstrous origin is, we rolled number 2. You are the victim of a curse or polymorph spell. Are we actually a goblin? Or is the curse actually the pact that she's under? Maybe she doesn't necessarily mind it, but it's changed her life in a lot of different ways. What could be her curse or the polymorph? Or are we rolling the mechanics for this character, but when we present as a player to the other players, we present this character as a beautiful goblin maid. You know, whatever people hold dear for a goblin to be beautiful. And believe me, the internet has certainly seen to it that various offerings of what people think are beautiful goblins can very easily be found. You know, but so does she present herself as, you know, cosmetically, like topically, as another monstrous race? Or if we are building characters with the kind of meta knowledge that we're going to be exploring, you know, human settlements, like we're going to make first contact with these humans, with these elves and dwarves and whatnot, is the polymorph actually assigned? Did the patron give her this outward shape? Right, she still has the muscles and everything of a kobold. Her body's the same. Her outward appearance, however, is that of another race. And that causes a lot of tension, but it's also supposed to be training. It's also supposed to put her into the mindset of her potential friends, enemies, frenemies, what have you. Black Wolf is sort of here. Well, welcome, Black Wolf. The Great Old One can be a powerful Gith Zerai from Limbo. This can give the Kobold an interesting storyline with the Mind Flayers. Yeah, so much if we wanted to install Mind Flayers as a part of the story here, Rycon. English Mudkip says, astral dragons mainly live in the realm of spirits. They live forever in that realm and know 10th level spells that they can travel to the material world to mature until they go back. That would be very interesting. I mean, with that, I could also see, you know, an Archfey. I could see Celestial. That'd be interesting, English Mudkip. Thank you for making me aware of that. All right, so we have a Fisher. We have a Kobold. Now we need a Warlock. However, I want to, before I go to Warlock, I want to dip real quick into Chapter 5 and check out what kind of a trinket that she has. That is her lucky fishing lure. This could have even been maybe the message in the bottle or something. Let's find out. Roll a percentile. 13. Her lucky fishing lure is a tooth from an unknown beast. A tooth from an unknown beast. The sea creature she's trying to pursue, her patron, just a tooth. She found it on the beach, could use it. Hasn't broken, it's been very durable, and could lead to adventure elsewhere. But that is her lucky fishing lure. Silver Pirate, have an awesome night. Hey, thank you for your contributions. Thank you for your thoughts and for participating in the building of the characters. I very much appreciate that kind of participation, Silver Pirate. Have a great night. Chiller Method, hello, welcome. Good morning to you. Get your Mind Flares in now before BG3 wears everyone out from them. I'm not sure I understand what the reference is, Chiller. Could you define that more for me? Oh, Baldur's Gate. Gotcha. Oh, okay. That's true. Yeah, that's introduce them now so you're in before they're cool, and then everyone plays Baldur's Gate and is like, it's these things again. Boy, if I ever see another one, boring. Oh, it's another Mind Flayer. Well, I know all their tricks and secrets. my video game skills will perfectly translate into D&D, because some of us, and you know what, I've been guilty of this, where I've used video game thinking in D&D and it's worked and I've gotten away with it. We're making a level 6 Warlock. We'll worry about the patron in just a little bit here, but we're just gonna focus on this stuff right here. So we have 6 D8 hit die, because we're level 6 and Warlocks are a D8 hit die class. What else are we getting? Oh, we're getting a +3 proficiency bonus. We are also going to be getting 2 spell slots of 4th level, because Warlocks are fun and weird like that. Well, we'll know 8 spells. We'll get there. And we're going to know 3 cantrips. A 1, a 2, a 3. And we will know some invocations. So we're going to have a level... We're going to get 2 at level 2. We're going to get our 3rd at level 5. And we're going to get our 4th at level... Oh, we're not level 7 yet, so we only get 3. And that's fine. We are going to get light armor proficiency. We're going to have proficiency with all simple weapons. No tool proficiencies. Wisdom and charisma are going to be our saving throw proficiencies. And we're going to get to choose 2 skills from Arcana, Deception, History. We already have History from Fisher. Intimidation, Investigation, Nature, and Religion. Well, we have Survival. Given the fact she's a Fisher, and possibly even, you know, she's a mother, she's raised broods of kobolds before, Nature, I think, could work very well for her. And let's go back to her personality. I need long stretches of quiet to clear my head. My friends are my crew. We sink or float together. Do not fish the same spot twice in a row. Suppress your greed and nature will reward you. I lost something important in the deep sea and I intend to find it. I'm obsessed with catching an elusive aquatic beast, often to the detriment of other pursuits. Lobster wrestling. You fought in hand-to-hand combat with an immense lobster and were the victim of a curse or a polymorph spell. Investigation might work. You know, trying to piece together these clues to find the sunken object or person, whatever's missing, or it might be compelled due to the nature of the pact with this great old one. As she needs long stretches of quiet to clear her head, she might be very analytical. Maybe not as analytical as our Kobbo here that we generated before, but perhaps investigation and nature work out well. Someday, maybe in 20 years, I'll get my chance to play in an Underdark game, says Derek. I have, or past tense had, City of the Spider Queen, which is a 3.0, easily converted to 3.5, but a 3.0 module. And oh my gosh, that was an amazing module. I wanted to run it. It's so... I mean, it is just presented. It blew my mind as a fledgling DM at the time that you could have a story with so much going on and nuances, and oh, it was amazing. Beautiful maps and everything. City of the Spider Queen. Oh, I would recommend it. Good morning, Kate. Welcome back. Good to see you. Let them think they know everything about mind flayers. Oh, yeah, and then you catch them off guard. Well, my mind flayers... I'll have you know. Oh, English Mudkip, that would make them adversaries. For sure. Especially if they can cut the silver cord, my gosh. Light crossbow or any simple weapon. Why not? We'll go for a light crossbow. I mean, we can give her a great club if we want. She doesn't have the strength for it, but sure, it could be fun. A component pouch or an arcane focus. You know what? She could probably even cast through that lucky lure, through that tooth. So let's use the arcane focus. A scholar's pack or a scholar's pack for sure. You know, she wants to make maps. She wants to plot stuff out, examine, even if it's just, you know, the good fishing spots. I see her as a scholar. She's very knowledgeable. She's not going to be unintelligent for certain. Let's see. Leather armor, any simple weapon, and 2 daggers. Oh, we want arcane focus down here and a scholar's pack down here. Another simple weapon and 2 daggers. Dagger X2. What would she take? Maybe a spear? Go spear fishing? I think spears are simple weapons. Let's check it out real quick in chapter 5. Hope you have your books out, class. Come on now, class is in session. Club, dagger, great club, hand axe, javelin, light hammer, mace, quarterstaff, sickle, spear. And unarmed strike. So a spear could work. If we didn't want the light crossbow, and maybe that could be spear fishing, something else she'd probably carry, and what a lot of fishermen carry if they don't have a spear or a spear gun, and a knife also, is a hammer. Because if you catch a big fish, you want to bludgeon it, so it doesn't endanger the boat or the crew with any sort of sharp points or fins as it flops around after you catch it in. So oftentimes sports fishers, if they're not going to release and they want to catch it to eat, they'll actually bludgeon the creature so that it is it's killed or unconscious enough to put it on ice and cool it off. So if we don't want to go the light crossbow route, because why would we? We have a spear. We're a fisher. Why don't we go with that light hammer, or that throwing hammer? A harpoon to add flavor. She does have a net. Now, I mean, mechanically, as a fisher, and as a warlock, you don't get a net because that's technically a martial weapon. But I think your DM would probably give you an exception if you spent your life fishing, especially as long as she has. You could probably wheedle your DM into saying, "Look, I get simple weapons as a warlock. Can I please just have proficiency in a net as a weapon?" Now, of course, if any of you out there are up for a challenge, I want you to break a Tome Gulag that can use a net. It has its own special properties, and maybe you could find a wombo combo. Why aren't all Gulags, especially Tome Gulags, wielding nets? Because you can get some infinite combo or something. Who knows? The math is out there, my friends. The math is out there. Net and yeah. So again, I want to make the case. Talk to your DM. Would a net, or I mean, if you want to go for a trident, yeah, sure. Give it a try. What's the worst that happens? You bring it up. It sounds cool, but your DM might say no. We haven't lost anything. It's just that you haven't gained. I had an argument some time ago about Warhammers. The DM was saying it was two-hand only. I'm like, it's versatile because I was playing a dwarf paladin with a shield. You can use them both because they are versatile. It's just you get less damage if you use it one-handed. You go from a D8 one-handed to a D10 in both English. So here you go. You clip that and you can show that to your DM. And DM, Mr. or Miss DM out there, I promise you can use a Warhammer in one hand. It's just not as damage efficient. It's your game, and if you're gonna count versatile weapons as two-handed only, make sure your players know that beforehand. But rules as written, it can be used in one. Okay, all right. Then you did what needed to be done. All right, now let's go back to our Warlock. Pact Magic. We have that, and we're gonna go over our spells lastly. Eldritch Invocations. Well, we already have that labeled here. Then for our Pact Boon at 3rd level, we are going to get Pact of the Tome, and that's going to give us our Book of Shadows, which will allow us to have some rituals and whatnot. Choose 3 cantrips from any class's spell list. And so this would sort of be, if you want to list it, so this is like Book of Shadows 1. Sounds very ominous, right? Book of Shadows 2, Book of Shadows 3. Because then this could just be, this is like straight up Warlock. Because if you ever lose your Book of Shadows, you won't have that access until you can remanifest it. Mystic Arcanum, we're not high enough for that, and so we're just gonna jump right into our archetype, which is Great Old One. Our expanded spell list is here, so if we want to take any of these, we can, as if they were on the Warlock spell list. It does not act like a Druid Circle of Land, an Oath spell, or a Domain spell for those respective classes, for Paladins and Clerics and such. This is simply opening up the types of spells that are available to you. It doesn't give you auto slots like those 3 other classes give you. So we're going to have an Awakened Mind. We can communicate telepathically, so instead of shouting the full name of our little kobold children and grandchildren, we can shout to them telepathically. I'm sure we can still wield a chancla if we wish to. And at 6th level, hey, that's us, we get an Entropic Ward. You learn to magically ward yourself against attack and to turn an enemy's failed strike into good luck for yourself. Now, what kind of invocations would she have? Well, she might have the Book of Ancient Secrets. This gives her 2 first-level spells that have the ritual tag. Would she get that? Yeah, maybe. You know, if she wants to have a bountiful fish harvest, maybe plant growth. I think that's a level 1 spell. But there's a lot of rituals that she could cast to help her with her fishing, with her family, with going on an adventure, or is the source of this exotic research if this character is in fact the sibling, quote unquote, of the goblin that we just manufactured as well. So we could take that tentatively. Their face was like, oh, okay, yeah, so the realization, sometimes that happens. Look, I've gotten called out for stuff like that before, too. And, you know, it's a little embarrassing to get zinged as the DM, but it happens, and no one should really care in the long term. You know, hopefully it doesn't ruin friendships. I mean, I've had some heated rules discussions before that I've had to step in and moderate. But, you shouldn't lose friends over D&D, everyone. Has it happened to people? Yes, unfortunately. Should it? No, and we hope not. If it was a 2-handed only, it would be a great Warhammer and have a longer handle. Yeah, aka a Maul, exactly. What else would this character... Because we can take a level 5 one, right? Because we get our next slot here. Technically, you can respec when you level, but... You know. You can cast Speak with Animals at will. That could be a good one. To find the prime fishing, we could talk to... the other birds and maybe even other fish. That could be neat. Right? Because we have Grandma Warlock. We have Grandma Kobold Gulock here. So Beast Speech, I think, could be a really good one. What would be flavorful is if we give her Sign of Ill Omen as a manifestation of the curse that she herself has fallen under. Casting Slow would be interesting, especially if she wants to go fishing, but it's a good self-defense thing as well. Mask of Many Faces, well, that could depend on if this curse that she's under already, being the possible victim of a polymorph spell, doesn't already have that included somewhat. Yeah, I kind of like that. Let's go Beast Speech. Animals, and especially plants too, can give you so much info. Oh, Sheeps! It's Oh Sheeps! Welcome, Oh Sheeps, and thank you very much for re-upping the subscription. That means an awful lot to me. It really does. And at level 5, Sign of Ill Omen. Hello, Shapes! Well, now that we have this, we've made our Warlock, and so now it is time to drop her stats down into her ability scores, and, you know, we're going to put the Hemi in the chassis. I don't think Strength is really going to be her suit here. We can probably just... You want to make Strength her dump stat? We probably could. I do see her, especially being so maternal, and, you know, it is necessary. Well, it's not as... Again, you can make not optimal. You don't have to max out your main stat, or at least not in the beginning or ever, really. But 115, apparently, Charisma. Let's give her a 15 there. She's very intelligent. She's also, let's see. survival, but she has all of this. Let's put the 14 here. 15, 14, 13. That's what we want to do. 12 and 10 constitution. She's not unhealthy, but she doesn't have the dragon blood flowing through her, giving her a boost. 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8. Now, after applying things, she's going to have a 6 strength score, a 15 dex, and there we go. And at level 4, she gets 1 ASI. That, if we want, we could split and cap off her dex and her charisma. I mean, this is offensive and defensive. This is arguably either way around too. And it gives us some nice round numbers, and we could just grow and develop from there. If we do that, she has a -2 strength, 3 dex, 0 con, 2 int, 1 wisdom, and 3 charisma. That's going to give her a -2 strength saving throw and a -2 athletics. 3's down the board for everything dex related, 0 con. Intelligence is 2 except where it's not, and then where it's not, it's a 5. So a 2 the other way around. Wisdom is going to be 4 and 4 in the proficiencies, otherwise 1 in everything else. And charisma is going to be 6 with everything else being 3s. That's not a save. Her passive perception then is going to be an 11, as that's 10 plus her perception modifier. And so she's mildly aware of what's happening around. Maybe her vision's dimming a little bit in her old age. You know, back when she only had, 1 or 2 clutches of eggs in a brood to look after, she was probably a lot more on the ball. And if she needed to throw that chancla at a kid, then she would do so. Probably make that a you can make that a dex based throw. Initiative is going to be a +3 because that is a dex check. Armor, if she's wearing her leather armor, that's 11 plus her dex, so that would be 14. Nice and easy. By the way, she's earned a name. If any of you have an idea for this 101-year-old fisher Kobold, who has made a pact with a great old one, who, by the way, I mean, just the virtue of this class, that's almost a whole other background in and of itself. Who is your patron or matron? What's the condition? What's the deal? Where was the pact struck? You could just fill another box with these kinds of details. And about the response, this is something that maybe a lot of people forget, even DMs. If you're making a pact, it means you're giving up something to gain something. Whether that's your free time because it's a job and you're sent out as, a supernatural squad force. It's information. It's an invasion of your thoughts and your privacy. It's, you could be a weekend warrior, right? One weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. And so you're kind of a part-time reserve in the great battle to come with the Warlocks. However, that means when you're called, because you're not called often, but when you're called, you do not have a choice. One does not simply renege on their contract with a great old one. I mean, with any patron, but, in this regard as well. I mean, just, there you go. I'm going to liquefy your brain. Apparently you weren't using it because you decided to ignore me. You don't need it anymore. So the great old one is going to be a vital part. And Derek, I don't know if you're still around. If you had ideas for what could make a compelling great old one for a character like this, when or why or how would this great old one and this little 2-foot 3-inch kobold lady, where would they have crossed paths in each of their existences? What could be offered by the great old one that such a character would take up, whether it early, middle life, or even now in her waning years? Does she want to stick around longer so she can have more kids or grandkids, or if she can't, that she wants to see more grow up and sort of be a leader to them? That could be something that one would want to strike a deal for power, and at what cost then? If where's she buying her life from? It's got to come from somewhere. Is it coming from the Soylent Green? Or I'm sorry, with her Kobold, is it the Soylent Striped Orange-Brown? Her current hit points, she gets 8 at first level, since that is our hit die. Her additional levels, so 5, because her 6, well, technically her first, but her 6 would have been the full 8, is half plus 1 of your hit die, so that's 5, right? D8 divided by 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And then for every level, all 6 of them, you get bonus hit points equal to your Constitution modifier. Well, that's easy math. 6 times 0, 5 times 5 is 25, plus 8, she has 32 hit points. So unfortunately, this abuela is not as hardy as our goblin, our venerable 52-year-old goblin grandma here, who's rocking 58 hit points at level 7, where she has almost half of that. As for our attacks, well, if it's dex-based, it's going to be a +6. The spear is going to be a +1 because we're proficient, but we have a -2 to our strength, and it is a strength-based weapon. But we do have a +3 proficiency. And our daggers are finesse, so we can use dexterity if we wish. So that's a +6. 1d4 plus 3 piercing. 1d6 -2 piercing. And the light hammer is also strength-based. Oops, mea culpa. And that's 1d4 -2 bludgeoning. We can decide on the spells. Kind of, O'Sheeps. We're sticking to Volo's Guide to Monsters, and so we're going to make a monstrous party using our randomizer. She met the old ones by chance at a knitting competition because who knew that the old ones also enjoy yarn? Hey, that's yeah. So she showed up, and there were in fact great old ones there. They were gossiping, they were knitting, they're talking about what their what their quote unquote grandkids were doing. The people who took their their contracts. And yeah, exactly. Drinking tea and gossiping, and knitting in the sun in a rocker, probably outside on a porch. And you know what? So we had this kobold encounter it, and wouldn't you know, you join the club, and you join the club, and you're in. There's no escaping. When she attacks with her spells, this is going to also be a +6, 3 charisma, plus her proficiency. And to save against the effects of her spells is a 14, because you simply add 8, as you do. We already have her spell slots, and well, I guess we're just going to come down here. Charisma. We had a 14 save, giving us a +6 to hit. There's no real magical resources to juggle over here. And so we have Warlock, Goo, Tome. And we have, we have spells here. There we go. We only have 2 slots of our highest, which is 4. And so now I will show you how we're going to come back here. Spells known. Sixth level. So here we go. At level 1, we know 2 first level spells. Then at level 2, we know a 3rd spell. But we only have spell slots for 2nd level, or for 1st level. Then we get our 2nd level spell slot here. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait a minute. Spell slots. Oh, 2 at 3rd level. We're just 1 shy. That was my mistake. We'll get rid of that. I was thinking something was wrong because you up that on odd levels. There we go. I'm going to fix this up here too, just in case. Because I do release these on our Discord afterwards, and I don't want to confuse people. So we have spells here. We just we're forced to cast them up through the higher slots. And then, of course, we have our Warlock 1 cantrip, and we're segregating these because in the event we lose our Book of Shadows, we would also lose these cantrips. And our Book of Shadow gives us 2 first-level rituals from anything here. So we have Book of Shadows Ritual 1. And Book of Shadows Ritual 2.
Looking at full boxes, dealer's choice, leftover score to Twitch.com.
Oh my goodness. All right, Derek. Sure. We're just about finished with this character, and once I have this all sorted out, then we'll pop open some miniatures. It's very kind of you to sponsor an ASMR session for O'Sheeps. Because let's be real. We're all just working for O'Sheeps here. During your adventures, you can add other ritual spells to your Book of Shadows. When you find such a spell, you can add it. Okay, so she can't have more. It just comes to us with 2. So, theoretically, we could have a lot of other rituals along the way here. So, whatever you'd want those to be. We have the placeholders for them. And I don't want to just seem like I'm flippantly disregarding spells, because the spells tell the story of your character. Where he or she has gone, what they've been through, what they're training for, what they're anticipating. A spell book is very much a diary of your character. You know, it shows the things that you hold to be dear and important to you in the circumstances you're facing in your story. But for when we're doing the mechanics, and we're talking about the character, you know, we've gone on her adventure. We've conceptualized who she is, and you know, some of the things she's seen. She's wrestled a lobster, everyone. Come on. She has wrestled a lobster. And so she is Tails, and has come to be this kind of grandma, as O'Sheeps was putting it, in a very interesting fashion. And we have a lot of connections with the goblin that we made just prior. We're working for O'Sheeps. When did this happen? Yeah, it was a coup de grace. It just happened right now, Diadems. Derek, I believe you are. If you aren't, then I would have a note. I'd have a note on your account. So let me double check real quick. I don't see a note on your account, so I think that you are paid for shipping, Derek. You've missed the ASMR. You've been twitching and rocking back and forth as O'Sheeps. She has tails and tails for days. All right. Well, we're good for this character. There's details that we can add to her, and we can make links and connections. Maybe we'll take Derek's character mapping as a lesson on Friday, or Saturday, depending on how long it might take, and weave the characters we make together. Because I think we're finding a lot of cool connections, and we can see with whom we're dealing. But let's take another quick break, refresh ourselves, and when we come back, we have some boxes to pop open for Macabre Derek.